Welcome to Moving with CHD, the podcast and vlog where I talk to fellow CHDers about being active with a congenital heart defect. I'm Hayley and was born with atrial ventricular septal defect and had 2 open heart surgeries by the age of 1. Growing up, I loved being active, but wanted to better understand the benefits and challenges of exercising with this condition. I'm therefore so excited to hear from others who have found their love for movement within their heart limits. Together we'll share these incredible stories and the realities of moving with CHD. However active you're able to be, I hope you find some inspiration, encouragement, and the movement you love. This week, I'm speaking to Chandni, whose discovery of fitness at university and commitment to a healthier lifestyle was not only instrumental to her recovery from surgery, but in her words, saved her life. Obviously, thank you, so much for joining our Moving with CHD podcast, Chandni. It's great to obviously have you joining us and sharing your story. I guess, first of all, I was hoping we could do a quick fire round. It's like a little get to know you. Are you up for that?
Sure, absolutely.
Amazing. So I'm thinking just the first thing that comes to your head, I've got 4 questions. So, favourite Disney character?
Aladdin.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh, that's a hard one. I can't even... A unicorn.
Oh, that's a good one. I love it.
Is that allowed? It's a real animal, right?
Yeah. Okay, I like it. Unicorn. If you could eat any food right now, what would it be?
Pasta every time.
Oh, I love pasta.
Every time. Pasta.
Any particular type of pasta?
Just any. I'm like a 5-year-old when it comes to food. Just give me pasta on a plate and I'll eat it.
Love it. Brilliant.
It doesn't even have to have anything on it. Butter, cheese, anything.
Really?
Just pasta.
Brilliant. My old housemate used to do that. He'd just do maybe just some garlic and that would be it.
Yes.
And what's one thing on your bucket list? Maybe post-COVID.
To run the marathon.
Amazing.
That is a big one.
London Marathon, yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
If I can do more than one, that would be even better. But I'm setting my goals low.
Low? I think a marathon's a pretty high goal. That's brilliant. Oh my gosh, amazing. So, when we spoke before, we talked a little bit about sort of your activity and what you're into now. So can you tell me whether you've always sort of had an active lifestyle? Like, have you always been into fitness?
No, I haven't. So I got really into fitness. I've always been quite active. I've never really been a very sit around and just watch TV type of person. I like to be up and about. But then at about 21, I'd gone to university and put on loads of weight because I was eating junk, drinking litres of vodka. I didn't know I had heart disease at this point.
Yeah.
So, just doing everything I shouldn't have really been doing.
Yeah.
Put on loads of weight and just decided one day, enough is enough. None of my clothes fit me. I'm not for this. Joined a gym. And then since then, I think I've just become addicted to exercise.
Yeah.
Can't stop me.
So was it you at university where you got into it?
Yeah, so I think it was the summer of my second year that I came home and I went to the gym and joined it. And at first I was a bit like, I'm not really going to enjoy this. Let's see how long it goes on for. But by the end of that summer, I went back to university and I was walking through the town centre with one of my flatmates, and someone we knew saw us, and she turned to my flatmate and asked where I was because she couldn't recognise me.
No.
I'd lost that much weight, over like a 2-month period or something, because I'd just become so addicted to I was still eating, no eating disorders or anything like that, eating really well, just got obsessed with going to the gym, and I spent the entire summer practically in the gym.
Amazing.
I had this awesome personal trainer, this massive guy, like 6 foot, really muscly, and he used to walk on my stomach to tighten my abs.
Really? Oh my God.
It was like training with a drill sergeant, basically. But somehow I really enjoyed it. And I was like, this is exactly what I love to do.
Yeah.
And then since then, I've really enjoyed exercise and I've never given it up.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing that you got into it at uni. I mean, a lot of people do seem to get into exercise at uni, don't they? I mean, they've either kind of been into it long before, or they've really find it at uni and maybe get a group of people who are also into it as well.
Exactly. I think it's a nice activity to build a community. And I think at uni, a lot of people are looking for that, right? You're looking to build a community, which is why you have all of these different societies and people who are into the same things as you.
Yeah, amazing. And you sort of mentioned it just then, but keen to, I guess, delve into when you actually did find out you had a heart condition.
So I found out I had a heart condition 5 years ago. So I was 32 years old. So it had been well over 10 years since I'd been exercising quite intensely. And it was found just by mistake. I had hip pain, went to my doctor's. She ordered a full blood test. The blood test came back saying I was autoimmune. So I got referred to a rheumatologist. The rheumatologist just thought he'd listen to my heart and check my knuckles and all sorts of things. And then when he was listening to my heart, he realized I had a really loud murmur. And it was really quite loud. And my heart was like buzzing to the point that when you put your hand here, you could feel like a vibration. It would
really?
It was bizarre. Yeah.
Wow.
So then he ordered an echo to be done. And by the time that appointment came round, I was pregnant with my first child. So they knew I had a bicuspid valve. They saw that much, but they didn't know whether it was causing problems or whether my pregnancy was causing problems.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So they just kind of sat on it. So I had stenosis at that point, but they were just like, well, we'll have to wait until this child is born and see whether your heart just returns to normal. And that's where my sort of journey with congenital heart disease really began.
Yeah. So they didn't even know it was congenital at that point.
Well, they knew it was bicuspid, and I guess a bicuspid valve is always congenital, right? I think. I've never heard of it being anything otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we knew it was congenital, but we just didn't know how much of an effect it was having on my life, or whether it was having it at all. So yeah, that's where it was picked up. It was quite a journey, and it's been all over the place since then.
Yeah, that's quite scary as well, because you've gone in for something that was hip pain, and I imagine that was literally the last thing you expected.
Yeah, I think when I had that first echo, it was really scary because I was pregnant. So I was like, well, what does it mean if there is a problem with my heart? Does it mean I'm not able to carry on with this pregnancy? What implications does it have? But they were really good at sort of hiding the severity of it, and just making sure I didn't get too stressed out. So they handled it in a really, really good way, I have to say. And I did go on to have a successful pregnancy, gave birth to my son fine. And, it wasn't the heart that was a problem in that pregnancy. It was the lupus. Right. So, yeah, it did all end up fine. And then once I'd had him, they kept checking on my heart. The severity of the stenosis was getting worse, but somehow my surgeon bought me some time to have a second child. Okay. So that happened 4 years later. Wow. I had my daughter, and at that point, my stenosis was critical. So that pregnancy was really touch and go, and a lot scarier. And, there were discussions about whether I'd need to have my valve replaced while pregnant, which overwhelming and really daunting, because obviously a fetus can't survive open heart surgery. And that's the best option, to have your valve replaced. So we were talking about whether we could do it through my leg as a transcatheter replacement. Yeah, there was all sorts. But yeah, it's been quite a journey, and now we're out on the other end.
Yeah, well, that's so good to hear. I mean, so how long? I know you said obviously you even went on to have your second pregnancy. So how long did you know you needed a valve replacement before the second pregnancy, or is it something they just weren't quite sure about at that point?
Yeah, so after I'd had my son, my first pregnancy, after that one, I had been told I needed my valve replaced. And a cardiologist had rang me up one Friday evening, and it was about a week before I went back to work after maternity leave. And he said, your valve is really bad and it needs to be replaced within the next couple of weeks. And I just remember this like impending sense of doom. Like, I can't have open heart surgery right now. I'm due to go back to work in a week. I've just had a child a year ago. Luckily, the surgeon said, because I had no symptoms, which is all down to the exercise, but I'm sure we'll get on to that.
Yeah.
I had no symptoms. So the surgeon said, it's fine. You can keep going. We'll just keep an eye on it. And we kind of knocked the cardiologist out of the equation. So there was no cardiologist anymore looking after my heart. It was just a surgeon.
Okay.
So we knew this valve needs to be replaced, but it went on and on. We carried on monitoring, and I carried on having no symptoms for 4 years. And then I got to a point where I was like, well, I want to have another child. So what happens now? At which point I had to have all these stress tests. So I had to get on a treadmill. I don't know if you've ever had a stress test on a bike.
No, treadmill, I've been told I have to have.
Yeah, treadmill is pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it, no one likes running on a treadmill with no sports bra in an open back hospital gown.
Oh no, really?
Yeah, but it's manageable. It's manageable, right? The bike is something else because it's not like a regular exercise bike. It's this weird bike that is like at a 45-degree angle, so you're backwards.
No.
Your hospital gown is open in the same way that it is in an echocardiogram, so open at the front.
At the front. Oh God.
Yeah. And you've got all these wires attached to you. And you're like at this strange angle, slightly on the left and back 45 degrees, pedaling away, and then they increase the resistance as you're going. It's something else. I wish I'd recorded it. I don't know. I don't think I could even face to watch it again.
That's just
so. Yeah. It's something else. You should ask for one. It's an experience.
It doesn't sound like it's going to be much fun. I'm happy with my treadmill that they give me. I feel like they're testing your coordination at the same time, seeing if you can balance.
I feel like they're testing your humility. It's so bizarre, but yeah, they put me on this weird bike thing, and my heart seemed to react really well to the level of stress they put on it. So they figured that it's fine for me to get pregnant and my heart would be able to tolerate it. I think the biggest concern was actually giving birth, because they say it's the same amount of pressure on your heart as running a marathon. So, or if not more. So they were really worried about that, but they sort of thought we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And so throughout that pregnancy, we were well aware I was going to have my valve replaced at some point. And I was well aware that my time was running out and I'd have this baby. And soon after, they'd be all over it, which is what happened. So,
yeah. And you obviously knew prior to sort of your surgery then, given that you'd obviously been aware through your pregnancy that you were going to have a valve transplant. So how did you sort of prepare yourself for surgery, and is there anything in particular that worked for you in that prep?
Yeah, I think I was one of the lucky ones. I think it's really lucky when you know that you're going to have this surgery, because you really can prepare yourself and your body. So I think one of the big things for me was making sure that my body is strong enough to withstand the surgery, and B, to recover quickly afterwards. So your heart is a muscle, you know, unless you work it, it's not going to get any stronger. My heart was already weak. I mean, I had a valve that was pretty much not even working anymore. It was just letting blood in and out as the blood pleased, which, as we all know, is not good. It's just not good. So my big mission was, right, I'm going to get myself completely ready for this surgery. I mean, I just had a baby. I knew that the cardiologist would give me at least 6 months after I'd had that baby because, you know, all of the things that come with looking after a small baby, you know, the care, the nurture, having to be physically able, breastfeeding, you know, they wanted me to have that experience. So the cardiologist had said, right, 6 months, and then you have this surgery because your valve is really bad and we don't know when you could just collapse.
Wow.
So I'd factored that in, but then the surgeon bought me an extra 6 months. Okay. So he said, you know, I know you've got a baby. How long did you want to keep breastfeeding? I said a year. And he said, right, well, I don't see why we can't postpone for a year because, you know, you need that time with your baby. You have no symptoms still. And from the minute he bought me that extra 6 months, I started preparing. So I started I've always been exercising. I've always worked out. Even throughout my second pregnancy, I was working out nearly every day. But I upped my exercise. I started eating really clean, you know, really looking after myself, making sure my body's getting stronger every day. But knowing my limits and knowing my parameters, like I sort of found this way of being in tune with my body and my heart and knowing, right, I need to stop doing this at this intensity. So stop jogging on the spot, start marching. Or no, you can't do an push-up, do something else to substitute. So I was really careful with it, but at the same time, I was pushing myself every day, worked out loads. Again, I was quite lucky because I was on maternity leave. So, you know, I had all this time to go out walking, make sure I got my steps in, and really just building up my endurance and my muscle strength, which, as you know, the minute you have surgery, the minute you're in that bed and not able to do anything, your muscles just basically deteriorate and are gone. But I had a good baseline from the moment I entered that operating theatre to be able to recover. So I think it was you who coined it as prehabilitation.
Yeah, prehabilitation. I think they should have that. I feel like, you know, we should have cardiac specialists to prehab us.
I think so. I think it really, really helps. I mean, for me, it definitely has helped me just bounce back a lot quicker. So I speak to other people who've had similar surgeries to me who feel awful, you know, like because you need your muscle strength to be able to get out of that bed for the first time after having surgery. You can't use your arms. You can't lean on your chest. You know, you have none of that in you. You need your legs to get you out. If you haven't built up your muscle strength in your legs, how are you going to stand up? How are you going to walk? You know, just having my heart in that healthy state, as healthy as it could have been with the heart disease beforehand, helped it sort of come to grips with the new valve, helped me, you know, be able to endure walking for longer distances. So I definitely think they should have some sort of prehabilitation for people who know their surgery. It really helps.
Yeah. Is there, I mean, you mentioned obviously it sort of has, you know, obviously supported then your post-surgery. Is there anything you would have done differently from that, or is there any other benefits you found that supported your surgery, your recovery, that you didn't really realise, or you hadn't realised that would help?
So I think for me, because the state of my valve was so bad, one of the big questions I had to my surgeon, because he showed me a picture of my aortic root, which he cut out. So I wanted to know where my valve was and I wanted to see it. But he said it went straight in the bin because it was so deteriorated. There was no point keeping it. And it was 0.6 centimeters big, which is like that, maybe smaller than that. Whereas a normal valve is 2 centimeters. So it's like that. So mine was like ridiculously small, just wasn't working at all. And we don't know how long it had been that bad for. It wasn't flapping. And he said the only reason my heart carried on, because that was a big question for me. How did I live? Like, how am I still alive? How am I still here? And he said he thinks it's because I'd conditioned my heart to keep pumping regardless of this valve. And that's a big thing. Like, exercise literally saved my life. Had I not been working out, had my heart not been conditioned to keep pumping, I don't know if I'd be here. And that's really hard hitting, you know. I just think it's a massive thing, and if that can inspire just one person to exercise, you know, or to just be active within safe parameters, that's my mission done. Like, I'm happy, because it could save their life. You just never know when it's going to save your life, you know. Like, and I'm on at my husband every day now. He's got high blood pressure, never been diagnosed with it, but we measure our blood pressure at home because, hey, that's the type of family we are now, that we've got congenital heart disease in the household. And so I'm on at him every day, you know, like, get moving, you need to exercise, you need to eat well, because you don't know when these things are going to take your life. And all you can do is do everything within your power to prevent them from doing that. And I really, really, like, passionately believe that exercise is one of those things that can prevent that from happening. So I think that is one of the big things that I discovered that I didn't know. My exercise actually helped keep me alive. I knew it was getting me stronger. And, you know, you get all of the added benefit of weight loss, feeling toned, feeling good in your clothes, and all of that. It's really nice. But when you look at the bigger picture, it kept me alive. I mean, I would trade the weight loss and the toning up for that any day.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's doing what you can, right? You know, whatever your limit is. If your limit is being able to do HIIT workouts, fantastic. If your limit is being able to walk to the shops, then, and you know, great. It's just doing what you can do, isn't it? I mean, everyone's going to be in different stages, different places.
Yeah, exactly. It is absolutely just doing whatever you can. So I'm not saying get up and do 20 burpees, you know. In fact, if you've got a heart problem, please don't. The doctor says it's okay, right? But yeah, just doing what you can, just making sure you're remaining active, because one of the other big things I've learned since having this surgery is the level of fear you have. And I had it too, you know, like, I came home from the hospital and I was so happy to be home. And I was really looking forward to coming home to see my kids. But the minute I got home, this sense of fear just took over, you know, like, I don't know what's safe anymore. I don't know what I can do and what I can't do. And what if I do something that's going to hinder my recovery? What if I do something that's going to crack my sternum open? You know, because there's no one here who's a professional telling me what I can and can't do. It's really difficult. But you can get up and walk. You can do that. That is totally safe. You know, you can march on the spot. You can do these things. There are some things you can do to keep active and keep yourself physically and mentally healthy. And, you know, if you can't get in touch with a cardiac rehab, look online. The British Heart Foundation have so many resources related to cardiac rehabilitation. Look on Instagram. There are people who are certified to give advice in this area, like Healthy Hearties. There are things that can be done safely, but just please keep active. That's
absolutely.
the thing.
And I think as well, you know, it'd be useful to hear sort of what, you know, obviously you've been doing your rehabilitation now because you are very recently post-surgery. So what's that sort of routine look like for you? Obviously you've got 2 young children as well, and looking at rehabilitation. So what does that sort of look like for you?
So my routine, it looks crazy with 2 young children.
I bet.
2 young children. But it always has pre-surgery too. So that's not changed much. But yeah, so I'm 7 weeks now. In fact, today I'm 7 weeks post-surgery. Wow. And I felt So I'd been talking to a cardiac nurse who's also a personal trainer and who delivers cardiac rehab programs online before I went into surgery. Because I knew with COVID, all of my local rehab centres were closed. And I'm in a fortunate position where I am able to pay privately for those services. So I messaged her a few weeks before my surgery to say, what is the next step for me? I definitely want to do some sort of cardiac rehab. What do I do? And we'd left it at, get in touch after your surgery when you're feeling ready to start moving again. And like I said, I'd conditioned myself before the surgery. I'd made sure I was strong enough. So within 2 weeks, I felt ready to do some sort of rehab program. I felt like, I was strong enough and I could do it. So I got in touch with her, and I've been working out online with her, 1-to-1 and within a group setting through Zoom, like 3 to 4 times a week. I've stepped it up now over the past week to 5 times a week. So I'll do sort of one workout on my own, and she would have set that workout. She'll tell me what to do for how long. So, I know it's all stuff that I can do safely and is not going to impact my recovery in a bad way. And then one day in the week, I work out with her as on a 1-to-1 session. And then 2 or 3 times a week, I do a group session that she leads online. So it's been really nice. It's been a nice way to talk to other people who have been through a similar experience. It's been nice to know what their experiences are. So, it's just the little things that you don't get anymore now that cardiac rehabs are closed. So the other day, well, not even the other day, all the time, I don't feel any sort of chest pain within my bones, apart from when I do certain movements, which are maybe a little too difficult for me to do at the moment. But what I do feel is that my skin is ripping open. So I feel like my scar wants to open up. And so I just brought that up at the end of my group session. And there's another lady in the group who said, yes, that does go over time. So if it hasn't gone by about 10 weeks, go and see your GP. But it was nice to have that experience and be able to talk to someone who's had a similar surgery, who can offer me that advice. So it's a nice way to get into that community spirit and, have a group of people who understand what you're going through. And I think beyond the physical, that's definitely an added benefit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we probably touched on it, but sort of from your experience with recovering now and obviously discovering that you only had CHD quite late, comparatively. Is there anything else or any other advice you'd share with sort of fellow CHDers who might be going through similar sort of experiences?
I just think, keep living. I speak to people who say that they've got CHD and are too afraid to do things, obviously because of my interests and the things I work in, I speak to people more about exercise. So I speak to a lot of people who say they're afraid to exercise, or, they feel like they're just tired all the time. They can't exercise. And I think the key is to just keep moving. Like we said, it doesn't have to be an intense workout. Go for a walk in the park, do whatever you can, but just keep moving, because your heart is a muscle. You need to work it. And if you don't, things can get worse. And like in my case, I worked it and it worked for me. Obviously, seek advice from your doctor before you do anything, but a walk is not going to do anything terrible to you. So do what you can within your parameters, but keep moving. I think that would be my takeaway for anyone. I just think it's so important.
No, absolutely. And I'm sure there's plenty of sort of our CHD community who will be keen to learn more from you, Chandni, and see sort of more about your experience. Did you want to maybe share your sort of Instagram handle so people can connect with you on there and say hello?
Sure, yeah. So my Instagram handle is Chronic Workout Junkie. it's a bit of a long one, sorry, but chronic is CHRONIC, or you could just go to Hayley's page and find me from there. That might be easier. But yeah, so I would be happy to connect with anyone who wants to connect with me. Happy to answer any questions. But yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, if I can just inspire one person to move and save that one life, that is my mission.
Absolutely love that. Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Chandni. We're so excited to have you on the podcast and launch this episode and see what everyone thinks as well. So thank you for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've not already, please help us get the word out to fellow CHDers by sharing with your network, subscribing to the Moving with CHD YouTube channel or podcast series on your favourite streaming platform. You can also stay up to date on all the latest episodes on my Instagram @Hayley.heartfitness.